And now, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
And yes, welcome to the Consumer Quarterback Show. We greatly appreciate you taking some time out of your day and spending it with us here on the program. 813-917-1894. Call the hotline. Any questions, comments you have. We want to be that super connector for you, for all of our expert contributors here in Tampa Bay and the Gulf Coast region of Florida and the United States for that matter. We're part of the Keller Williams Network, so we've got nationwide and worldwide coverage that we can help you with all of your real estate needs worldwide as well, with our lending partners as well. As you know, just a great opportunity for you to reach out. 813-917-1894. We're going to be that consumer advocate and help you avoid a lot of that commission-based advice. ConsumerQB.com is the website. We got attorney Frank Miranda coming in the studio as well. We're going to have him in studio talking about real estate law, contract disputes, litigation, all that fun stuff. We've got Eli Gonzalez back on the program as well. He's the ghostpublishing.com, talks about helping you publish your own book. He's a ghostwriter. James Grant's in the house. ServPro, like it never happened. ServPro, you've seen them out there with their billboards, and they do a great job helping you recover when you have these emergency situations that arise, whether it's fire and water, cleanup and restoration, or more. So we've got James in studio, and we're going to go to the phone lines here in just a moment with Diane VANCE, Fairway Independent Mortgage, expert mortgage advice here coming up on the show. Before we do, we like to feature a couple of our listings here in Tampa Bay. Platinum MVP team, Keller Williams Realty, 14626 Loredon Drive, $1.4 million listing of ours. Beautiful property here in Tampa Bay, and this is just a very unique property. You've got 2 bedrooms, 3 bath, 1,330 square feet, double master layout, and it's on a peninsula. It's basically at the end of this road with 180-degree views of the intercoastal waterway. Just very unique. Granite countertops, completely remodeled. Got a heated pool, tennis court, private boat dock. Bring your boat. Beautiful property at 14626 Loredon Drive, number 14 in Seminole. That's Pinellas County. Beautiful property right here in Tampa Bay. Also, we've got a property on Ebb Tide. This is 4823 Ebb Tide Lane, number 405. A penthouse available for sale on the river, waterfront, Gulf of Mexico views. Penthouse for sale here in Tampa Bay, 1,100 square feet, 4823 Ebb Tide Lane, unit number 405 in Port Richey. And if you want to have your property featured live on air, 80 outlets worldwide, thousands of people viewing your property every day, reach out. We'd love to talk to you, and you can visit our website at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
All right, let's introduce James Grant here. James, welcome back in, my friend. ServPro, like it never happened.
Like it never happened, Brandon.
That's
nice
right.
to be here.
Yeah, man. Likewise. And give us a little teaser what you're going to talk about today, my friend.
Basically, what we talk about, I did a general overview since I've been coming here, how the operations work, how the consumer versus the insurance company works, how the estimates work. So what I'm going to talk about today basically is what to do to help arrive. I'm going to give you some emergency tips for your home.
Emergency tips. I like that. And I love that part of working with the insurance companies, the adjusters. That's good content as well. So we'll jump into that as well. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Diane VANCE, Fairway Independent Mortgage. Hey, Diane.
Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
Doing well. So, man, you know, we keep seeing all this uncertainty, geopolitical, of course, the war going on in Ukraine. How is that going to be affecting mortgage markets?
Well, what's going on? Still the same issue is that we just don't have enough inventory, and people are frustrated. And so I have to stress to the folks listening is that have a good agent to negotiate your deal, because you know, a lot of people get frustrated, and I tell them just, you know, keep looking, because somebody will actually, it will turn. It will definitely, you'll be able to find something, but you have to have a good agent that actually can find you a property. And, don't use your, not that your relative isn't, important because they may be a top agent, but a good negotiator. But sometimes somebody from, Orlando doing your deal that you're here and they're your dad and, he works part-time, whatever,
Yep.
that kind of a situation. So it's, there's a lot of programs. We have plenty of programs for people out there that, that are no money down. I mean, zero down programs, but they get frustrated after they lose bids so long. You may have to go a little bit further out than you wanted to, but at the same time, I mean, I'm talking to people that are paying $3,200 in rent.
Right.
I mean, it's a crazy market. But the war is based, or whatever it is. I'm not sure what they're calling it, but I've noticed that people are a little concerned right now because gas prices, they're not sure what's going to happen. Anytime you have any volatility in the actual market itself, it affects interest rates. Actually, interest rates improved a little bit because, unfortunately, the worse off the economy, the better interest rates get. But they do want to control inflation, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do that with what's going on in the world. But it's a scary time for a lot of folks, but there's still everybody's full employment. I mean, we have a lot of good things that have happened, and unfortunately there is no controlling what's going on right now. But people are still working, and they're still paying rent, and they shouldn't be, and they just have to not give up and find that house. I mean, it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking with Diane VANCE, Fairway Independent Mortgage here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, and that's a good overall summary of what's happening. People, buyer frustration, inventory low, challenging situation, and even sellers that are pulling their homes off the market saying, look, I couldn't find anything. Brandon, I call a lot of the expireds at FSBOs, talked to previous clients, and they couldn't find anything on the buy side, so then therefore now that's one less property that's on the market on the sell side, and it's challenging times for all. But like good advice that Diane's saying is that don't give up on, and be careful with working with a lot of times they're great people, your friends, your friend or your kid's soccer coach or whatever, but they're part-time. You got to have a full-time agent who's immersed in this, who's in the trainings, who's taken all of the different continuing education classes and making sure that they know how to set up a hot sheet. Those hot sheets come out from the MLS every morning, every evening, and you want to make sure as soon as that hits, boom, there's a bell that goes off, you're triggered and your agent's triggered, and you're going to that property the next day, you're viewing it. Sometimes you're making offers sight unseen. Diane, we've seen a lot of that too. People paying over ask price, sight unseen offers.
Yep, we have seen that a lot, and I mean it's very normal. I mean, we're seeing it a lot of times. The other thing too is, I know, Brandon, I'm sure you guys do this, that you knock on the doors when you actually, or you hand out things to the neighbors and, things like that. So I think there are people that want to sell out there, but it's exactly what you're talking about, is that they can't find anything when they start looking themselves. And so they get scared as a seller, and then the buyers, they can't find, they get frustrated. I had a guy call me and say, or text me and said, you know what, you've been great. We're just going to wait a while. I'm going to go ahead and sign a lease. I had suggested sign a shorter lease because interest rates are still going to be very good this year, but nobody knows what they're going to be next year. So, every time it changes 1%, that's less money you can actually, your buying power is less. So I told him, don't lock yourself into a year lease, maybe sign a shorter lease or month to month or something like that, because eventually this will ease and it will happen. So, and I have a lot of people that have looked for a very long time, and they do end up getting a property, if they don't get frustrated and stop looking. But I've had a lot of, people, and sometimes the agent will actually get lucky and not maybe get lucky, but let everybody know what area that they're looking in. And, sometimes they'll get a call and say, hey, we have a seller that's going to, planning on putting it on the market. Do you want to look at it ahead of time or something like that? Right. So it's a very different market.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just talking to a Keller Williams agent that he runs multiple offices in Port Charlotte area. I'm starting to do more teaching in other markets, going to Miami to teach the Win with Sellers class coming up as well in April. And the consensus was, hey, I'm glad you're coming in to teach these classes, and you're going to teach at the board as well how to win with sellers. That's the class I teach and specialize in. But he had the same question. He said, Brandon, what are you telling people right now in that exact situation that you were kind of outlining, Diane? And what I said, well, in our particular marketplace, one of the things that people might want to consider is if they can move further north, Pasco County, Hernando, maybe even out east, between Brandon and Seffner out in Lakeland. You're going to have to sprawl out into those rural areas. And then you might, instead of looking to buy a resale house, a property that's already been lived in, you might look at buying land. And then maybe you look at, getting creative. Of course, it all centers around how far you drive from work, or you want to be closer to the beach, closer to work, or closer to mom, or whatever. But those are some things to consider and to try to think outside of the box, Diane.
Right, exactly. And I was talking to a customer that was, had, good credit, good income, all that good, everything. He just didn't have the down payment. So I said, maybe you want to go further out into Plant City or someplace like that.
Yeah.
And we have a program that, we pay, it's not income based. It's a new program for us that I still have to do the training, but we've done the training and it is available. And they'll pay up to 6% of your closing costs and your down payment. So that's going to cover a lot of, in these purchase prices, it's going to cover a lot of things. The interest rate's much higher than the normal interest rate, but hey, you still get in the house, and eventually, when you can refinance later on or something like that. So,
that's right.
So there's a lot of options for people, and that doesn't have to be, way out in the country. I was thinking of USDA because that's one thing we do.
Yeah.
We're number one lender for USDA loans, not because of Pinellas and Hillsborough County, but because of Alabama. Anyway.
Yeah. The rural areas.
Yeah, the areas that are way out there that are in the country. And but yeah, so there's a lot of options for people. It's just they cannot get frustrated and they just can't give up, and it's just consistent that you may have to, unfortunately everybody looks at the HGTV and they watch the, those beautiful homes that have been staged online and things like that. You may have to go in there and not get your perfect home, and make it yours after you do buy it or something like that. We have reno loans,
renovation loans.
Yeah, renovation loans. But the important thing is to, don't give up, keep trying. You will end up finding something.
Yep, that's right. And more people are working from home too today. So DianeVance.com, find her online, DianeVance.com, Fairway Independent Mortgage, one of the top lenders in the country. I think top 3 lenders in the country, Diane. Thanks so much. Appreciate you joining us on the show.
Thank you, Brandon.
My pleasure. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, James Grant, ServPro, in the house. We're going to talk about ServPro and all the services they offer, how to deal with these emergency situations that may come up. You've got situations of wind and fire and rain and flood. We're going to talk about that, how to work with the insurance companies as well. Consumer Quarterback Show, ConsumerQB.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. For more information, go to ConsumerQB.com.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at ConsumerQB.com.
Hey, Brandon Rhymes here for Cleaning Commandos here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Cleaning Commandos are hiring, and they're offering competitive wages, flexible hours, relaxed atmosphere, and a sign-on bonus. Reach out if you'd like a career with the Cleaning Commandos here in Tampa Bay. Info at cleaningcommandosllc.com or call 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550. Cleaning Commandos, Consumer Quarterback Show. Hey, Brandon Rhymes here. We are looking for real estate investors. We've got a new relationship bringing us a tremendous amount of off-market real estate investment opportunities. So text the word investor to our hotline, 813-750-0550. Off-market real estate investment opportunities. Text investor to 813-750-0550. Brandon Rhymes here, Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty, looking for real estate investors. Send us a text. Have you desired more income and more freedom in your life? Now is your time. Keller Williams Realty has just launched our own real estate school, and you can get licensed for free. I'm Brandon Rhymes, host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, owner of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. And for the first 3 people who reach out, I will personally coach you. 813-917-1894. Call or text 813-917-1894. ConsumerQB.com. ConsumerQB.com.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at ConsumerQB.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP team, Keller Williams Realty. Always want to help you win in your buying side, investing side, and also if you're listing properties. We've got the part of the Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment division now, so it's a pretty cool elite group of just 1,000 agents worldwide that are in that program, and we are qualified for that in the luxury program, Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment. Commercial as well, so if you have any commercial assets, we'd love to help you there. We've got some hot listings here in Tampa Bay. We like to feature our real estate listings live on air, and we help our sellers profit more and sell faster utilizing our innovations with radio, TV, and internet marketing. So we got 14121 7th Street in Dade City. This is a beautiful opportunity. I tell you, if you are in the restaurant business or ever thought of being in there, this has a one-bedroom, one-bath apartment upstairs. It's a Dade City restaurant, downtown, beautiful property here, 14121 7th Street in Dade City. You've got a ground level that has more of your cafe style. Upstairs, you got a banquet style, and it has the one-bedroom, one-bath apartment. All of the real estate's included, the furniture is included, the appliances, all of the cookware, everything's included here. A great opportunity, and you can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com. platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Sun is shining, the weather is sweet.
All right, we got James Grant in the house, ServPro back in the house like it never happened. And I'm looking at your brochure here. These are great brochures, by the way. If you call or write in, we'll get you one of these brochures out in the mail. You can take a look at. But you got a lot of do's and don'ts here: water damage, vandalism, harmful waste, fire and smoke damage, emergency tips. Lots of good stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was sitting here rocking because the music was so good, but
There you go.
yeah, some of the things I want to talk about. There's several different categories when you look over this, and all of them are great. And if you have this pamphlet and indoctrinate some of these things, if these situations come about, it will help you not only help yourself, but will help us, ServPro, as the restorator, as the general contractor, to do a better job for you. If you're looking at fire damage, the do's and don'ts, let me just read a couple of them off, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just give you some idea. One of the things is, if you have fire or smoke damage, limit your movement in the home. And the reason because walking on soot, you're embedded in the upholstery or your carpeting. Makes it a little bit more difficult to get out. Instead of restoring that carpet right there, you might have to replace that carpet. So
right.
And that's an added expense. Obviously, if it's electricity, turn off your electricity. If your freezer, take everything out your freezer and leave the door open so it won't smell. I'm not going to talk about anything winter because we don't have winter here, so yep. We're not worried about pipes freezing. But another good thing to do, especially when you're talking fire and soot, is to change your half-vac filter. That right there would help. If you leave that half-vac filter in there, all those spores keep just going up inside your air conditioner. Those are some of the do's things you do. Some of the don't things that you don't want to do is the attempt to wash the walls. A lot of people say, well, I can wash that myself. What ends up happening is you end up messing up the drywall. Then you're going to have to, that's another expense. Instead of us redoing it without taking the whole drywall out, you mess the drywall up, then that's another expense. You have to cut the drywall out, replace the drywall, another expense. Don't attempt to clean any type of electrical appliances. I mean, that's a no-no. I mean, you can get killed from doing something like that. Don't consume any food or beverages. Fire, heat, even water heated up at a certain level sitting around can be a contaminants in there. So those are good things. You're talking fire and smoke. Other categories are water damage from clean water, water damage from contaminated water. One of the things you want to do if something happened on water damage, the first thing you want to do is try to shut off the source. You don't want the source to keep going on. And I've had those ERPs, which I talked to Brandon before about those ERPs, which is your emergency response profiles, which show you everywhere your shut-off valves are, your turn-on valves are. Turn off any circuit breakers. Remove any dry or any paint, art, any type of thing. Take that stuff out because it absorbs more, especially if you have some extensive art. That water will absorb in that art, and that art become worthless at that particular time. If you have any type of contaminated water, avoid all the contacts with sewages or any type of contaminated sewage. Wash your hands thoroughly. Obviously, those are the do's, things that you want to do. The don'ts you want to, the don'ts is you turn off your half vac system. Use household fans. Don't try to use your household fan to dry up any water. That does anything. It just push the water around.
The household fans.
Yeah, people just I put my fan out here. It doesn't suck it up. It doesn't dry. The temperature is not right. It's not doing anything for you. So there's a number of different things in this pamphlet that if you, like you said, if you want one, I'm gonna leave some for Brandon and we can send them out.
Now, one of the things, too, to look at is when you have mold present. Some people I know over the past have thought, oh, well, I can clean the mold. But I've heard that also just spreads the spores around the house if you try to clean it.
That's all you do. When people say, well, I can cut it out. But you might cut that particular spot out, but mold is airborne.
Right.
So it's going somewhere else. So eventually, without being treated, without having any type of containment unit around it, because what we do, we come in and we have a containment unit to try to prevent the spread.
Yeah.
While we are treating that particular area, so it won't spread all your. Because if you're trying to contain it yourself, you can't. You're just blowing it somewhere else.
Right.
And it just start growing other places because mold is alive. It likes growth.
Right, exactly. And if you just join us, we're talking with James Grant here, ServPro, right here in Tampa Bay, and he's got offices in Tampa Bay, ServPro of Tarpon, ServPro of West Tampa, and they're independently owned and operated, of course, but it is a national company. Of course, you've seen their billboards. They're on all types of different national or TV coverages, ESPN, etc., Fox News, History Channel, Golf Channel, and others. So James is in studio here. James, let's talk a little bit about, if I come into a situation like this and I start to file a claim with my insurance company, what are some of the common misnomers there with the insurances and what to claim, how to claim it, what to say, what not to say?
One of the biggest things with claimants that I found out through my career being here at ServPro is that our branding is like it never even happened.
Yeah.
Okay? People think that when they have a catastrophe, have an accident, that it's remodeling time. Insurance companies don't think that is remodeling time.
Right.
Insurance companies think put it back the way it was before it happened.
Right.
Hence tagline, like it never even happened.
Yep.
So that is probably the most major thing that I've found out when insurance companies dealing with consumers. And then consumers don't understand, well, I got this and it's that I want to buy a $10,000 marble countertop.
Yeah.
They don't understand why the insurance don't want to pay for it.
Right, exactly.
Then everybody get all up in the tears and get pissed and get mad.
Yeah, so if you got laminate flooring, you're going to expect to put laminate back down, not some high-end bamboo flooring.
Correct. Yeah. But that's not the way people think. So.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah,
so.
They look for the upgrade opportunity.
Absolutely.
Totally get that. And then there's also public adjusters, the question about work with them and not to work with them. Once again, can you give us an overview on that?
Well, as far as public adjusters is concerned, ServPro, we're kind of in the middle of versus a State Farm adjuster versus a public adjuster.
Okay.
State Farm adjusters work for State Farm. They're our clients. 97% of ServPro's franchises business are insurance business.
Got it.
So how it works now?
They're referring
the business to us. Now, how it works, I do work with public adjusters, but I work with public adjusters in the end. After they have done what they needed to do, if they got that person more money, that's fine. We don't get in the middle of that battle. But at the end, it becomes a cash deal then. So insurance company's not involved anymore.
Got it.
They already paid out the consumer.
Got it. Awesome. All right, good stuff. That's almost our time. So I've got your website here, servprowesttampa.com.
Correct.
All right. And folks can find you online as well.
Yes, they can.
And social media and
yes, they can.
All the such. Good stuff.
Yes.
Thanks for coming in, my friend. I appreciate it. Reach out to James Grant, ServPro, West Tampa and Tarpon location. And if you want a brochure, reach out. We'd love to get one over to you. And James does a great job here in Tampa Bay, serving as a consumer advocate. He's a very busy guy coming in and taking some time to talk on our radio show here, TV show, and we appreciate that.
Great having me, bro.
Absolutely, my pleasure. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Eli Gonzalez in the house. We're going to talk to Eli about writing your own book. Have you ever thought about being a published author and what that might do for your career or maybe just for personal use? It's fun. It's a great opportunity to be a published author coming up with Eli Gonzalez, the Ghost Publishing, and attorney Frank Miranda coming up later in the program as well. We'll be right back.
This is Chris Voss, former FBI lead hostage negotiator and owner of the Black Swan Group, and you're listening to Consumer Quarterback Show hosted by my friend Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Yeah.
I got Eli on the line.
90% of the deals out there.
Brandon.
Right.
Just give me a count from 5 to 0, please.
Five, four, three, two, one.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We greatly appreciate all those that call into the program and engage with us. That's why we set this show up. We want to be that consumer advocate for you. 813-917-1894. Call or text the hotline. Multiple introductions we can make for you. 813-917-1894. ConsumerQB.com as well. You can see links there to all of our expert contributors. A couple of hot property listings. We got 5602 Land O'Lakes Boulevard, commercial property, C2 zoning, about 7 acres of land here available for sale at 5602 Land O'Lakes Boulevard, and it's up along that expansion up on US 41, C2 zoning, almost 7 acres available. Great opportunity for builder developers, entrepreneurs. 5602 Land O'Lakes Boulevard, and you can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Somewhere sunny and 75.
All right, we got Eli Gonzalez joining us on the program. You've heard Eli and some of his other business partners on the show over the years. TheGhostPublishing.com. And Eli, you got your 90-day Write Your Book Challenge going on.
Yeah, man. So, Brandon, always a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So those that may remember me or Lisa, we've been on the show several times. We're ghostwriters, and what we do is we write books for people. And there are many reasons, and Brandon, you know this better than most, on why someone in business should have a book. I mean, the credibility that comes with authoring a book. I was speaking to a woman with a PhD just the other day, and she put out a book. She said her book gives her more credibility than her master's degree.
Oh, wow.
She says, you know how many people? Yeah, she says, so many people have degrees, but now I'm the expert because I wrote a book on it. And so for the coaches that are listening today, or the realtors, the speakers, people that want to sell courses, people that want to get on shows like this and other media stages, it's not a want to have a book. That to do that at a high level, a book is a need. It's a need. Can you imagine in where I live in Palm Harbor, if a realtor wrote a book on how to list or sell property in 34685?
Right.
That realtor becomes from 1 out of 1,000 to the only one that wrote a book on doing real estate here in Palm Harbor. I've been blessed, man. I've personally written 85 books for other people. As you know, Brandon, one of the books that I read, we're working on turning that into a movie. And so books still do big things. The problem is that a lot of people can't afford a ghostwriter's charge.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they don't have a story, right? That doesn't mean that they don't have desires and wants to be seen as an expert. So I have a 90-day Write Your Book Challenge starting on April 5th. So that's April 5th for 90 days. It's a private Facebook group. Every other day at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to go on live with the group and pretty much coaching everyone through on how to write their book in 90 days.
That's awesome.
And, yeah, and I've done it 3 times before. Before it was 45-day challenges, and the feedback I got was that it was a little too intense. So now we're doing it for 90 days, and it's live there on Facebook. So I'm answering questions in real time. I have a whole curriculum. I have time to set aside to write, and I have the process that I've written 85 books and 12 New York Times bestsellers. That and everything that we do and know to do, and how to write a book and how to promote it, how to leverage the fact that you are now an author in this space, will be done in those 90 days.
I love it. Yeah, and then you set up your book signings, and you get the, that publicity factor going on. You got the books in your hand. It's just a great opportunity to get published. We're talking with Eli Gonzalez here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, theghostpublishing.com, and written 85 books. Falling from the Sky is the book you referenced earlier with our friend Captain Will Smith. We are turning that into a movie. Really excited about that. A lot of the growth there happening around that as well. Now, you are also involved with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Is that right?
Yes. So I've been on the board for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Tampa Bay for 5 years. And just one day crossing over the bridge back to Pinellas County where I live, I realized that a lot of Hispanic business owners here in Pinellas County, they're surviving because of their passion and their talent alone. Right. There's no networking opportunities for people, for Hispanics, and no resources, no place for them to go to. A lot of them missed out on the PPP loans.
Yes.
Just because of the language barrier, and they just didn't know. They didn't know where to go, where to ask. So last year, I founded the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Pinellas County. It's historic. And Brandon, I mean, we've taken Pinellas County by storm. I say this humbly, but we've been on NBC, CBS, ABC, Bay News 9, Univision, Telemundo. I mean, the response has been incredible.
That's awesome.
Absolutely incredible. And what we found is that it's not our members is not just Hispanics. On the board, we have 2 people out of 10 that aren't Hispanic.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so all of our events are in English, and I say all the time, you don't have to be Hispanic to join the Hispanic Chamber. You just got to be cool.
Oh, there you go. All right, cool. That is cool.
And there's so many people that want to tap into the huge buying market of Latinos, but they don't know how to find them.
How many people are in that chamber now?
Well, we have about 450 people that are following us right now. In terms of members, we did a soft launch last year, and we did our real kickoff in January of this year. We've got 60 members.
60 members. Cool, man.
60 members. We're expecting to have about 300, 350 by the end of the year.
Awesome. Very cool. Eli Gonzalez here on the program, theghostpublishing.com. And if people want to follow you, I know you do a lot on social media, a lot on LinkedIn as well. How can folks find you?
Yeah, on LinkedIn, Eli Gonzalez. On Instagram, Eli the Ghost 1. Eli the Ghost 1 on Instagram.
Very cool. And final thought back to you, my friend.
Yeah, just make it count, make your life count. You know, Miles Monroe says that the richest place on earth is a cemetery, because that's where so many people have taken their IPs, their stories, their methodologies. They buried them with them. They never released them.
Yeah.
So whether it's to do your own show, whether it's to have your own podcast or put out a book, go big, play hard, and do your part to change the world for the better.
That's right. Yeah. Take action. Don't let it die inside you. I like that thought, man. All right, Eli Gonzalez. Find him online, theghostpublishing.com. Eli, we appreciate you calling in, man.
Appreciate you, my friend. Talk soon.
Take care. All right, we'll take a quick break. We come back. We got attorney Frank Miranda in the house. Frank Charles Miranda Law, FCMlaw.com. Going to be here. We're going to talk about contracts, litigation, escrow disputes, HOAs, maybe how the covenants are in the HOAs. Foreclosures, big topic. Foreclosures and REOs. And I know there was some PPP litigation out there too. So we got a lot of variety of topics to cover here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We'll be right back after this short break. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Ian Beckles here with my man Brandon Rhymes, a.k.a. the real estate quarterback. Brandon, what's happening with the market?
Thanks, Ian. We are in a low inventory market, so any of our listeners are homeowners and would like a free comparable market analysis or a 2.5% listing, we will honor this for the first 3 listeners who call or text in
813-917-1894.
Free CMA and a 2.5% real estate listing. Check out consumerqb.com.
My name is James DeJerome, and I produce the Consumer Quarterback Show for Brandon Rhymes. The Consumer Quarterback Show is a team, a group of like-minded professionals who partner together to provide our audience sound advice, knowledge, and information to make them wiser consumers. We work with all types of business owners and aggressively promote our local economy. We're currently conducting interviews for our expert contributors. If you own a business or know someone who would benefit from the exposure our show provides, please contact us at 813-750-0550 or online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes here. Quick shout out to Discovery Golf Cars. If you've ever thought about getting a golf car, I highly recommend Discovery Golf Cars right there in Clearwater or in Tampa location. Ethan, talk to Ethan over at Discovery Golf Cars. Make sure you let him know the real estate quarterback sent you. Take him up on those special offers and incentives. EasyGo, Cushman, Icon, Star, EV. Reach out, discoverygolfcars.com, and make sure you let him know the real estate quarterback sent you. All right, we got attorney Frank Miranda in the house. Welcome in, sir.
Great being here. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. So, kind of the unsaid thing recently is because we're in such a hot market, inventory the way it is foreclosures. I mean, there's not many foreclosures happening, at least from what I've seen. You got your HOAs that can foreclose. You got some of these moratoriums kind of ending, and foreclosures, REOs, aka real estate owned by the lenders is how they call it. They kind of name it REO. But yeah, foreclosures have you haven't heard a lot about them. Have you seen much on your side?
I haven't, but that's the amount of foreclosures you see are typically obviously related to the economy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're all going to have to pay the price for what Russia's been doing, and with higher gas prices, higher any kind of merchandise price that you want to buy is going to go up because you have to transport it somewhere. So how that's going to affect jobs and what people can spend on, obviously they're going to try and focus on spending on the mortgage first, because it's probably the most important thing to do. Yep. But you may see that tick up just because of outside factors that may be out in anyone's control. There hasn't been a lot of that. What I've seen more recently, Brandon, is people who have either had fights over escrow deposits, or they're having disputes as to whether or not they have to go forward on with the contract and honor either selling the house or buying the house.
Yep.
That's been more of an issue. It should be more of an issue because obviously prices to buy these houses in real estate are continually go up. I don't see that going down any. I don't even care if the economy gets a lot worse. There's people moving here in droves with cash, so they can afford to pay more than we're typically accustomed to see here in this area.
Yep.
And because they're willing to pay more, and because there's more than one buyer for a piece of property, there's some bidding that goes on and prices elevate, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Simple. Supply and demand.
Yep,
Right.
Absolutely.
Supply and demand.
Well, the other thing, too, you kind of touched on it, that's an important topic, is affordable housing and debt ratios, right? So people are spending more money of their hard-earned dollar. It's going up into the 40% in their debt ratio. Typically, back in the day, I remember when I was in the mortgage side in the early 2000s, you'd want to keep your debt ratio around 30%, maybe up to 36%. People are going 46%, 50% now on their housing, by the time you include your principal, interest, taxes, insurance. And then they have that 50% to pay for everything else.
And what that means, you're house poor, right?
Yeah.
Most of your money, half your money is going to live in that house, to sustain you in that house. And God forbid you have one problem. It's a domino effect, right? So for whatever reason, you don't get paid for 2 weeks. It could be an innocent mistake. It could be a mistake on your own employer not sending you cash or not sending you the check timely.
Mm-hmm.
That can cause a litany of problems.
Yeah.
So people are getting overextended to some degree. I've seen that where people are borrowing large chunks, or they're borrowing large chunks of money from family members and using it as a down payment.
Yeah.
To try and get those ratios lower that you're talking about.
Right.
So instead of having 50% of their income go toward the house, maybe it's closer to that 35 and 40, which is still pretty high, but they have to take money from family members to get it done.
Right. Yeah. If you just joined us, we're talking with attorney Frank Miranda here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, FCMlaw.com. And Frank is a real estate attorney. He does different types of law. He does actually litigation. He goes in and does litigation. We'll go to the courthouse. A lot of it, we were talking pre-show, is a little Skyping still going on, a lot of Skyping or Zoom calls rather here. But I wanted to talk to you about got situations, a couple different situations that come up recently. So you got two owners that own an asset. They're kind of investor partners, two guys, call them Jose and Juan, right? They buy this property together. One wants to sell, the other doesn't want to sell. How can one owner force the other to sell?
Yes. If they hire me, they can.
If they hire you, they can?
Yeah. In fact, that's called a partition action. I have filed more of those in probably the last 5 months of practicing law, 25 years than I've filed in the prior 10 years.
Yeah.
That's happening more and more.
Why do you think?
Well, that's a great question. What do I think is because one person obviously needs the money.
Yeah.
The market's pretty high at this point in time.
Yep.
I think they can maximize their value.
Yep.
While the other person, a lot of times, is either using that property at a reduced rate or using it for free.
Exactly.
So what's their motivation of getting rid of it?
Exactly.
So you're a partner in essence, but you don't get the other benefit that the other partner has because the other partner's using the property.
Yep.
And so fundamentally, it's unfair.
Yeah.
In fact, I just did a deal like that in Key West.
Yeah.
Yeah, where two people inherited a piece of property. One person put their family members in it, lived in it for years without paying any rent.
Wow.
For years. And finally, the other person's like, can you finally buy me out?
Yeah.
And if you don't do anything and force them to do something, they're going to continue to live there for free.
Yeah, they're going to take advantage of the situation. So you just present the facts for the judge. Hey, Mr. Judge, here's what we're looking at. Mr. Mrs. Judge, I should say. Here's what we're looking at. Here's the facts of the case. You got one basically being a sponge or a leech, so to speak. And the other was like, hey, I need to convert this equity. I got bills to pay.
So there's actually a statute right on point.
Okay.
And so the statute provides for it. There's no defense in stopping the sale.
Right.
It can get tricky after the fact when you're trying to give credits to some people. Because one person is ultimately going to say, well, I've spent all this money over the last 10 years, and I've paid all the taxes, and I've paid the insurance.
Right.
It's not fair to split it 50-50.
Right.
So those are decisions the court can make.
Okay. Well, that's good. I definitely wanted to cover that. I actually just sent one of those to your office the other day. The other thing is, so when you get into breaking contracts, you get into situations where, hey, we're under contract, we're supposed to close. Somebody has... They claim, oh, well, they misrepresented the property. They said I could build 8 units here. I can only build 6. Whatever those scenarios are, what's your advice around breaking contracts, escrow disputes?
That's a really good question, too, because that's hot. I've seen that a lot in my office coming through. Just recently, I had a significant purchase on a residential property, over $1 million, where it's really unclear whether or not buyer has the money to pay. And so sellers calling me up saying, do I have to try and wait this long to go to a closing if they don't have the money? I said, well, obviously the answer's in the contract. So
Right.
there's provisions in the contract that say if you don't prove you have the money within a certain period of time, seller can go ahead and void that contract. Fortunately, in that scenario, there was inquiries made, and it was verified the person does have the money to close. What caused that problem?
Person does or does
They
not?
do.
They
But
do.
what caused that problem was actually the realtor. The realtor came back, said the appraisal's way too low. Seller says, we informed you it's not going to appraise, but there's multiple people that want this house. So if you want to play, you got to pay. And if you don't want to go, we'll take offer B, C, or D. You tell me.
Right.
And so they knew that going in that wasn't going to appraise for the value, and they paid more than appraised value. But in that neighborhood, you have to if you want to buy that house.
Yeah.
So that situation could have been avoided if there was a more professional, educated realtor that represented the buyer.
Right.
Because it was that person that caused all this controversy.
Right.
So it's important when you pick somebody to represent you in the sale of a piece of property.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at the different addenda that go along with these contracts. So you got over the appraised value, appraisal waiver contingency. So you can go, hey, we're going to pay. We got a contract at $500,000, but if the appraisal comes in at $470,000, we'll pay up to $30,000 over appraised value. A lot of that can be agreed to up front, so you don't get into those situations.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And you're in a situation in today's market where it's a wanted property in a wanted neighborhood. You have to expect that it's going to sell for more than what's being asked for it.
Yeah.
There's going to be a bidding. And so if your client is willing to pay $100,000, I've seen people pay $300,000 more, okay, on a residential property because they wanted that property.
Yep.
You have to decide where your limit is and let everyone know up front, and it avoids a lot of problems down the road.
Yep, that's right. And you outline that up front. That way there's the least amount of questions that you can have at the end of the contract or even during the process, the better. And if it's a waterfront property, beachfront property, et cetera, yes, there's going to be more competition for it, more of an opportunity for people to pay over or to propensity for them to pay over the sales price, over the agreed to price, the appraised value rather. Because the challenge is when you have these finance deals, you've got lenders that are saying, hey, wait, we got to kind of slow this down. We're going to be a little bit more conservative, or you may just not have the comps, the comparables there. So then they're saying, well, and then the owners on the other side of that saying, well, this is the hottest market we've seen. We got 85% absorption rates. You got 1.2 month supply of inventory. So I want X number. That's what I'm seeing a lot of is, almost, you hate to call people greedy, but in a sense that it is greed that's running out right now.
But I tell you what, if I'm selling something, I certainly want the highest price that someone's willing to voluntarily pay for it.
Absolutely.
No one's holding a gun to anyone's head saying you have to offer me more than what I'm asking for.
Right.
The reality of the situation is if I'm selling property A and I have 3 people that want property A and the third person's willing to outbid everyone else over and above what I'm asking for it, I'm going to sell it to that guy.
Right.
So what in this market, if you have cash,
right,
you are king. And cash has always been king. But now, if it's, let's say, $1 million property and the bank's going to only, lend you 80% of that and it comes back at $900,000, it's $100,000 short, I don't care because I have the extra $100,000 to put down plus the other cash to put over and above the $1 million sales price.
Right.
If I want the property, I'm going to play. This is not a market for bluffers.
Yeah. Yep.
You can't bluff in this market.
And that's an ideal situation you just outlined. What I see too, and some of the times is the challenge. I got one right now that we're working on. But so yeah, you could get a financed offer because we listed it a little bit aggressively. But when you look at it, if you got a cash offer that's a little bit less, say $5-10 less than that financed offer, you might want to take that cash offer and take the money and get it in the bank rather than waiting and going through an appraisal, coming in short, having the issues that could potentially happen. Based on comps. That's where, again, back to the realtor, you've got to have a really savvy realtor that knows how to comp these out. When we say comp, we're talking about comparable properties to kind of set, here's the baseline value of that particular asset.
Yeah, and you know what? And not only that, but if you need that property, I mean, you showed a commercial piece of property up a moment ago that looks very nice on 41.
Yep.
If you need that property and you're going to use that property, if you pay more than what's asking, but you're going to be there for 10 or 15 years, I don't see an issue with it.
Right.
So that's a business decision that buyer is going to make and say, I need that specific location because that benefits my business exponentially.
Exactly.
And so you can't really quantify, or I guess you could, but it makes more sense for that individual that really needs it to overpay for it.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if that's their north location. They still want to go to that urban sprawl. Everything's moving towards Wesley Chapel or Land O'Lakes, wherever it might be. It's a strategic location for you for multiple reasons. Maybe it's a trucking company and some type of a relay station. So that's a good point. Is you could have an asset that's valued differently from different people because of the underlying inner workings of their business.
So it's fantastic. I mean, just talking about that and what the need would be and how the market is today, it's completely contradictory how you're raised, right? When you're raised, if someone's asking $10 for something, let's offer $8. Let's see negotiate. Let's see if I can work this guy down. It's almost like an art.
Right.
I don't know how great of a negotiator you can be today.
Right.
It is what it is. And if you don't want to pay, please don't waste my time. My phone is ringing for other buyers.
That's right.
So that old school mentality of, hey, you got to try and beat the seller isn't going to try work here on a broad spectrum. Can it work on a particular property that has, a seller in distress? It's possible. But that overall strategy, tough to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank Miranda here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, FCMlaw.com. You can call in and we'll put you in touch with him and his team as well. 813-917-1894. Call or text 813-917-1894. And Frank, we got about 30 seconds left. Back to you, man. Final thoughts and maybe how people can contact your office too.
When it comes to these type of investments, it's typically one of your largest ones you're going to make, whether it's commercial for a business or residential. Do not just assume what's being put in front of you is to your benefit. Check it out before. If you have any questions, our number is 813-254-2637. My email address is frank@fcmlaw.com. You can reach me through various legal websites. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Yep. Email direct frank@fcmlaw.com. Good way to get a quick answer and do your due diligence up front. Don't go into these deals and then come to Frank, right? Get your due diligence done up front.
That happens a lot.
There you go. All right. Hey, another great show. I want to thank all of our expert contributors today, Diane Vance, Eli Gonzalez, James Grant of ServPro, and attorney Frank Miranda. We want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness, do something kind for one another, and be a force for good in the community. We'll see you next time right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Call Brandon Rhymes at 813-917-1894. That's 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show.